This is going to be wired for winning. Tech, AI, and the science of sport is what we're going to be talking about. And for this discussion, all the way from Madrid, Spain, we have Iris Cordoba Mondejar, the managing director, GSIC, powered by Microsoft. Can we have Iris come up on stage, please? Thank you very much. She's had a long flight in, been very attentive through the sessions. And of course, this Global Sports Innovation Center, a Microsoft powered innovation forum, aims to bring together entrepreneurs from the sports industry and help them use technology to develop products. We're going to hear a lot more about that from you. Thank you so much for being here. Next up, may I invite on stage Alan Davis, marketing head at CricViz. Alan, can we have you up on stage, please? Let's have a round of applause for Alan, please. A seasoned marketing leader with over 15 years of experience in sports and the leisure industry. His resume spans football, horse racing, and sports media, with senior roles at the Jockey Club, Brighton and Hove Albion Football Club, and Spotlight Sports Group. It's going to be an interesting discussion that we're going to have there. And of course, may I invite on stage Chintan Shah, SVP Teams, Leagues, and Federations, Sports Interactive. Another one of those young minds driving change at Sports Interactive, with over a decade of experience spanning football, cricket, and multi-sport ecosystems. He drives innovative strategies to connect fans and unlock digital revenues through data, content, and video. And to moderate this session, may I invite on stage Professor Maheshvi Panchagnula, the head IIT Madras Center of Excellence on Sports Science and Analytics. Great to have you with us, Professor Mahesh. He's transformed the IIT Madras Incubation Cell into India's top deep tech incubator, co-founded Nirman, and of course launched the IIT Madras Shastra magazine as well. There's a lot more to his credit, but we are going to hand it over to him, the man for the moment, to moderate this. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you for pulling this amazing group together. I think I've been on the sidelines watching some conversations happening, and India, I can very clearly see, is at a cusp of an amazing sporting revolution on many different dimensions. And I'm very happy to be here with this excellent group of people who can tell us a little bit about where tech and AI can play an enabler, revolutioner, and change maker role. Let me take a couple of minutes to frame the sort of the overall context for what we want to do. Tech in sport largely does two things. One, it helps athletes and coaches do more with their bodies and with their time and perform better on the world stage. The second is to bring people to appreciate what these athletes and coaches are doing. That's the angle of fan engagement. So we'll probably explore both those angles. But I want to add a third angle, which I think is important for all of us in this room at a Sportstar PlayCom event to understand. Sport has a global appeal like nothing else in the world. Nothing in the world has the kind of appeal that sport brings at the grassroots level. So I want to also frame a third angle, and we'll talk a little bit about what I call non-fan engagement. The fan engagement idea starts with a person who's already bought into entertainment through sport. But I believe there's a lot we can do with a third demographic, which we may call non-fan engagement. We'll come talk about all of that. Let's start off. Iris has come all the way from Spain, and she leads a very interesting not-for-profit foundation that is backed by Microsoft. So tell us a little bit about GSIC and the work you do there, Iris.
Thank you. I'm very happy. It's my first time in India. I speak Spanglish. I'm original from Argentina, and then maybe you should do a little effort to understand my English. And the Global Sport Innovation Center, powered by Microsoft, is a non-profit organization where we try to create like a meeting point where sport entities and startups, governments, universities, large companies, brands who sponsor the sport too to try to solve problem statement. No, we work with the sport entities. We opened our doors in 2015 with this idea to help the sport industry in digital transformation after the pandemic. All the sport entities are immersed in some digital transformation processes, and the idea is we are connector where when we detect some problem statement or the sport entity share with us this problem statement, we put in touch with the best provider of solution. And why we are powered by Microsoft is because we help the startup in develop their technology in Azure cloud, but this does not mean that we close the door for other companies who develop in other technologies. And this is the GSIC.
Very interesting. The startup angle that you talked about is, do you work with startups globally, and what are the kinds of enabling services that GSIC provides
Yeah,
startups?
we supported in the last 10 years more than 2,000, almost 3,000 companies from 81 different countries. Currently, we have an office in Singapore. Here is Peggy, the regional lead of APAC. We open in Valencia, in Spain, a testing lab. It's the first testing lab. It's a sandbox city, Valencia for sport, where 4 clubs of La Liga like Valladolid or Levante or Valencia Football Club, but also sport like triathlon or marathon are relevant. Without taxes, they support, and the GSIC manage all the testing in sport. But we work close to all the Microsoft Office around the world when they have customers in the sport like FIFA, NBA, Cricket Australia, One Championship, World Table Tennis, River Plate, that this is my team. If someone wants to know more about River Plate, talk with me in Argentina. But yes, we are aligned with this Microsoft Office to scouting or be in touch with the best startup in the sport, and we're running more than 10 innovation program where this help us in have today. Our big asset is our database and also the catalog of solutions. We have a catalog of solutions where we divide the industry in different scenarios like solution for broadcasting, solution for betting, solution for fan engagement, for team and player performance, smart venue, social impact, whatever. And we know behind this scenario which kind of companies and where are they based, and we offer this information for the sport entities.
That's wonderful. Alan, cricket is not a sport that needs to be explained to us Indians. Um, I see cricket taking on a real global appeal. It used to be a probably 6 nation, 8 nation sport. Today, formally, it's probably a 25, 30 nation sport and spreading its wings. What have you seen as the role of technology in the growth of the sport, and where do you see this and the role of CricViz, your company, there as well?
Yeah, thank you. Firstly, thank you for the warm welcome, and to Sportstar for putting on this fantastic event with KPMG, and thanks to my fellow panelists. Yeah, so I think CricViz, which is part of a wider business called Ellipse, it's a data and analytics business, so very much rooted in cricket data and the performance and improvement of players. We work with the world's biggest federations, organizations, and broadcasters, down to individual franchises and leagues across the world. I think the one thing that we need to remember when we talk about the development of technology in sport is, especially from a CricViz perspective, is data's been around for a long time, and that is fundamentally what a lot of the technology is based upon. And I think the one thing that technology is enabling us to do is obviously utilize that data. So I think we have records dating back to 1877, something like that, in our database. So if you think about the huge amount of data that's been recorded and now can be analyzed, I think that is where technology is really, really driving forward, what we're able to do with that. I think at CricViz, I think we think about it in probably two different ways. So I think we're obviously going to talk about fan engagement and non-fan engagement as the third thread, but we also think about it certainly from a performance perspective as well. So a fundamental part of our business is how to improve performance with technology, and obviously being data or having data to underpin that. So I think that's how I would see it from our perspective. But I think ultimately the increase of technology use is only going to help us, going to improve our industry, and I think we're seeing that at the moment.
You know, cricket as a little bit of a, I'm probably the lone professor in this audience. I don't know if there's any other academics, but as a little bit of a mathematician, cricket lends itself exceptionally well to AI because an IPL match is, each ball is a discrete event, and there's 240 discrete events that happen in the course of a match, and you just need to do a good job of recording the data and analyzing the sequence. Um, but when you look at cricket as a sport and the outcome, sometimes algorithms tend to miss the big picture. Uh, Talk a little bit about that because a sport like a company like CricViz is in the business of selling the sport to the fan, and the algorithm is a means to do that. So talk a little bit about the overall appeal of cricket.
Yeah, sure. So I think you've coined it quite nicely in terms of the huge amount of data and the algorithm accuracy, and that's something certainly at CricViz, but with anything to do with AI and technology, it's about accuracy, depth of data. And I think the one thing that we're certainly trying to do with CricViz is maintain the balance of utilizing technology and AI with human intelligence. And I think that's where particularly we're very strong in having some of the world's leading cricket analysts that we can combine their skill, their experience with the outputs of AI. So for example, if we look into our database, we've got records of 75,000 cricketers. Ultimately, yes, we can run that through systems and programs and models, but you still need an element of human intelligence to match that. So I think you've got to find that balance across the board, and that's something that we pride ourselves in, is maintaining that excellent level of human input. But yeah, certainly, you know, the volume of data that is required to flush through a model is only going to get bigger and better. I think, like you said, cricket is ideal because of the individual elements to it. I think where we're probably moving towards, and certainly in the last couple of years, is obviously there's always been information about batting, bowling, and the kind of core elements, or what's seen as the two core elements. But you know, with fielding data now, that kind of stuff, it's just getting bigger and bigger, and we need the help of AI and tech to help us harness that data.
Wonderful. Chintan, your company, Sports Interactive, works with leagues and franchises and helps them to do more with what they have on their hands. Tell us a little bit about the activities of Sports Interactive.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. Look, with Sports Interactive, fundamentally, we try to bring fans closer to the sports organization, and we use tech to enable that. And with AI coming into play, there is a huge shift in how the fan engagement is changing and is going to change. Back in the days, AI was, the fan engagement was one too many. Like there was one broadcast team, one feed, one story to tell. With the technology and AI coming into play, you can really move into generating individual messaging for fans, right? So instead of one too many, it is one to one with lot of threads back and forth that's happening, right? So what we do at Sports Interactive is we build that infrastructure, build that capability for leagues and feds and organization to enable them to interact with fans in the one-to-one way, and not just when the live games are happening, right? So that's one way, and also technology is helping us build communities for these leagues and teams, because now there is a capability for the teams to know and segment their fans, right? Who are my core fans? Who are my casual fans? who are the guys interacting with my content, who are the guys coming on my platform and playing games, right? So we can fundamentally cohort behavioral patterns of the fans and drive communication to them in a very personalized way. What that does is makes a very high intent, decision making from the fans, and they are they engage a little more deeply with the fans rather than just engaging on the social media content. So that is what Sports Interactive is doing, and we've been doing this in the cricket ecosystem and trying to deploy this across different sports in India.
Wonderful. I think personalizing entertainment, sporting entertainment, opens up a completely new paradigm for sort of for consuming the content. Is there room for that in non-social media as well? Are there ideas that you can go beyond, say, text and images to engage fans in a more personalized manner?
Yeah, so hence it's important to look beyond social media when you're talking about technology and AI. I think first step to that is building your own platforms, right? So IPL teams, we work with 7 out of 10 IPL teams, and their focus in the past 4 years is to bolster their own tech infrastructure, which is their own apps and websites, right? Now, once you have that, there are different elements you can play with beyond just content, reels, and videos, right? Which is one big aspect is gamification, and the earlier panel spoke about the impact of real money gaming and the adverse impact also on the sport as a business. But that opens up, look, you already have a huge fan base who was used to this behavior of playing fantasy game when the matches were on, right? And there was a community around it. I think the teams have an opportunity to capitalize on them by building similar gamification angle, building similar communities around the gamification on their own assets and platforms, because the fans on the teams apps are very, very engaging. The amount of engagement that the teams app get is far more than you will get in the different other categories, right? So it's for the teams to capitalize on that. And beyond gamification, there is a whole layer of fan loyalty program that the IPL teams are trying to build, and that helps deepen the fan engagement further beyond content.
Sure. Let's switch gears and talk a little bit about sports science. At IIT Madras, we work very closely with lots of stakeholders to develop custom science and tech products to help athletes, to help sporting in general as well. Um, One of the things that sports science has done for the athletic community is increase their longevity. People are less injury prone. They're able to play the sport at a higher level. You take someone like Novak Djokovic, my favorite athlete in my favorite sport. There is no chance a 39-year-old would have in the past come to all four Grand Slam semifinals. Tell us a little bit about all of the data. We'll start with Alan in this case. Tell us a little bit about, Alan, all the data that you have, and how does the athlete and the coach, how can an athlete and a coach use data and AI to do more and for longer durations of time?
Yeah, so I can give a couple of examples here, and I'll start with cricket. But as I referenced, CricViz is part of a wider group of businesses under the Ellipse title, and we also have a tennis business. So I'll touch on Djokovic in a moment. But in terms of cricket, obviously, there is very much the team element and the individual element to performance, and I think it can be used in two ways. And certainly the teams franchises that we work with definitely use it on both levels. So often we'll have either an analyst embedded with the team, or we've seen over the last few years, because of the rise in importance of analytics and having an analyst as part of the team, that they will have their own teams all year round. Hence why our software is being used throughout the year, not just for certain tournaments. And I think what we're able to do is we're able to utilize the tech that we've developed, but also the I guess embedding the huge depth of our data to help teams understand how to approach individual situations. And that might be, as I mentioned, field settings. That might be setting up certain batsmen with the right bowlers, those kind of things. So I think there's individual elements of games that teams use it for, But I think there's also the wider piece, which is kind of match strategies.
Yeah.
So when you think about if you've got an opponent that has a different setup to the previous team, and you don't think your same tactics or strategy is going to work, it's how do you think differently? Well, that's where we come in and we say, well, let's look at the data, let's look at the opponents. How do we think we can best perform and match our team against their team? And then obviously, I think a lot of the time with data, it comes down to individual athletes. It's a bit like nutrition, biometrics, that kind of stuff. Ultimately, it has to be, the buy-in has to be from the individual. But obviously, we can certainly be there from a tech provider, software provider, but also a human intelligence angle as well.
I think I want to ask Iris. You work very closely with a lot of the football leagues. Footballers practice far more than we see them on when they're on TV. The sort of their longevity in the sport also depends heavily on their practice sessions. Is there a way to use tech and AI to be smarter in practice? Have you seen examples of that?
Yeah, for sure. Building in that Alan said, using AI in performance in the end, now all the sport, not only football, cricket, or table tennis or hockey, the game you play not only with the players, you are using science, you are using technology, you are using in the end data, no? And this data can be good to connect with the fans because you mentioned before sportainment, no? What means sportainment? What means sport? Sport is content, no? And in the end, who create the content, the fan not only watch the sport, the fan is creating content too, no? And this data that we get in all these wearables that the player use, you can use also for fan engagement, not only to try to reduce the injuries, but also the data can using for broadcasting, can using for for the fan engagement. And in this end, in football, we talked before, no? The people think, no, it's only the ball in the match, but I will show some example in my keynote after the lunch, how La Liga and Microsoft with Beyond Star, you can see in real time predicting the statistics about the possibility to mark the goal in different parts of the pitch, you know. But again, today one of the big concerns of the player regarding the sport is how they can extend their life and playing. And in this end, the technology is the key, but not the technology. It's the technology and the science and all these research groups behind the university who can help in this end. No, but here for me the key is the data, and data is information. How you manage this information to make business with new revenue streams, or to extend the life of the player, or to try to reduce the interest, is where is the business and where is the AI can help us in this sense.
I want to make just one sort of cross-cutting point on that. I think if there is one sports science element that cuts across all sports, it is biomechanics. Understanding the mechanics of how the sport is played. And very often, at least particularly in India, I see that's a field that's not widely studied. I want to encourage anybody and everybody in the audience to think how they can be an enabler of biomechanics. It's not, I mean, it's an element that really helps athletes remain injury free for a longer time. And when Iris talks of data is important, it is not just the performance data, but the mechanics data of the person that really is crucial to making sure that they are able to live a longer life and contribute.
For sure, 100%. And in this sense, the biomechanics in the last 10 years, the role of the women in some sport like football changing everything. It's not the same for women that for men. All this data, all this business insights analysis is amazing. And talking about this, the other part, we have a exposition area, amazing solution, some of them in biomechanics too. And I think I'm here, it's my first time in India, but in this sense, we are looking for this India entrepreneurs startup because we believe you, you have amazing universities and the potential of this solution to go to market is the key. How you work with this research group to go to market and see more solution in the market and not only in the university work.
Chintan, I have a question for you on the seasonality of sport. You know, tennis happens to be an 11-month calendar sport, so it's a little lucky. But cricket, IPL, 2 months done and dusted, EPL. How do you deal with seasonality when you're designing your digital product to help the team remain relevant?
I'm glad you asked this because that is uh, a challenge and an opportunity both, and that's very unique to India. Like you mentioned, most of our leagues in any sport are of very finite duration, unlike the European markets and US where the leagues run for 8 to 10 months. There's always something that the fan has in terms of relevance to engage with that product. In our situation, when we don't have that, I think it's important to think of the off-season period, if I say it. So, in season is when the live game is happening. Off-season is when the games are not there. So the live product is not there at all. Is to think and look what is the base touch point for a fan when the matches are on, right? I think while we can watch the match on TV, but the stadium experience that we get whenever we go and watch, it's when I feel we convert a fan to be a lifelong loyalist to of a particular team, right? Now, during the off season, what we try to, and I think what is important for all the rights holders and teams out there is to build digital stadiums, right, where you can give those experiences to the fans. Uh, Again, I understand when we work with the indigenous sports, smaller leagues, there aren't budget to create that experiential touch point for the fans on ground, right? And that's where technology can play a big role. You can build those digital experiences on your assets which can make fans hooked during the off season period as well, and you don't have to overdo it. Can you build one experience a month on your digital assets? It can be around the relevance around this, even teams in India do it really well where they play up festivals a lot, right? So if you're a team in Bengal, you'll play up Durga Puja in a way where you'll build relevance about your team during that festival on your own assets, right? Only challenge today though is most of the teams and the ecosystem is trying to do this on social media, which is again one too many. And the way feeds on social media are, you don't even know whether that messaging or content is reaching your right audience. I think it's important to shift the focus from social to doing this on your own platforms where you can track the entire user behavior, fan behavior, and drive meaningful conversation on top of this as well.
Very nice. I want to take 3 minutes, and we'll leave ourselves 10 minutes to do to the last part. Let's take a quick 3 minutes, and each of you really is in a very mainstream sport. You've mostly worked with mainstream sports. Talk to the non-mainstream sport. How can they use your technology, your idea? Let's say the lady up here talked of ball badminton. I know how popular it is in Tamil Nadu, but not so popular elsewhere. So please take one example of a non-mainstream sport. Chintan, if you want to start us off, let's keep this a little brief because we want to talk about other things.
Sure. So I'll focus on PKL, and honestly, they have been pioneers in many ways in India in terms of Indian sport, but also on technology, right? And I'll be going to focus on the non-live period where the sport is not happening. So PKL in 2017-18 built a product with us called Kabaddi Housey, right? So now it's a housey in a very unique way. When the live game is happening, there are events that happens in the game. Instead of the numbers on the ticket, you have the events on the ticket, right? And you have to again on your app tick mark those events. Now what this does is, this was a time when PKL was trying to build eyeballs on the broadcast as well. So using digital as a medium, using second screen as a medium, we build a synergy between broadcast and your app, and again the fan engagement was through the roof on the app during that period.
Alan?
Sure, I think I'll touch on my experience in horse racing, which is relatively mainstream in the UK in terms of attendance and obviously interest from a sports betting perspective. But I think outside of that, it's the importance of breaking down what can be quite a confusing sport, because ultimately we're talking about a human with an animal. And I think when we talk about data and the impact of the horse within that sport, it's huge. It's massively significant. And again, there's always been data, but it's not necessarily been used in the right way. So I think one thing that we've recently launched, well, about 18 months ago, a project with a broadcaster in the UK to try and break down those barriers to entry for new fans. And like with many sports, horse racing has an aging fan base. It needs reinvigorating. It needs a new audience. But for us to be able to engage with that audience who want information, want data, and they want it pretty immediately, we've got to take all of the data that we can now collect, which has come a long way in racing in the last few years, run it through our models, and ultimately share the outputs of that in a digestible and engaging way that people perhaps won't necessarily be too intimidated to go racing, watch racing, interact with racing.
It is.
Yes, I think in broadcasting is more easy, no? It's a lot of example, no, in different sports and table tennis. No, one of the problems of table tennis is the ball is very small. No, I don't know if anyone attend a big event of table tennis, but it's very complicated for the fan follow the motion that in other sport, no. But to try to don't talk about again about broadcasting, we did a test in Andorra. It's a very, very, very small country with only less than 1 million of people, and they have a problem in the seasonality too, because it's a winter sport, no? Ski, they have the Tour de France or the Vuelta a España cycling when they pass, and we work with a company who develop in the helmet. One thing is airbag if they have some accident, but other 4K camera, and then you can training like a fan with all the route that this professional cycling team did, and you can engage, no, and you can practice with a smart role in your cycling, and you can compete with a professional one, no, and you can do this all the year, no, in your home. And this is what something during the pandemic was very good, because all the people practice cycling in their home, and with a smart role you can follow this professional route too, no?
Very interesting examples, all of you. Thank you. We promised to talk of non-fan engagement. You know, I think we in this room are sold to engage with fans, but that's a very, very thin sliver of the larger population that can benefit from sporting and sporting entertainment and knowledge in general. I'll start with a little example that we have championed at IIT Madras through our Center of Excellence on Sports Science and Analytics. We offer a whole range of courses that are allied to sports, from sports nutrition, sports psychology. Sports nutrition teaches how an elite athlete eats, what do they eat, and there are a lot of people who want to know how to eat healthy. We offer a course on sports psychology that talks to how an athlete thinks while on a stage performing. So I believe there's a lot that the quote unquote non-fan can learn and digest from the sport itself. So let's talk, if we can, for the next few minutes about things we can do to really broaden the appeal of sport. And I'll take the liberty of asking Alan if you want to start us off. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll probably continue on my point around making or using sports data and technology in ways that can engage with different levels of fans. And I know we're kind of coining it non-fan engagement, but I think you know, you think about the levels of fandom in cricket, and one of the huge priorities for us especially in broadcast, is how, again, we engage with somebody that may be tuning in to their first ever game.
Sure.
And through, obviously, the use of our data and tech and our outputs, we are really prioritizing helping those people understand and follow the story of a game. And I think that's sometimes, again, a bit of a barrier to people watching from start to finish.
Yeah.
Is they might not necessarily understand really what's going on if they're not a real fan in terms of their understanding. So our work specifically with broadcasters is very much about, obviously we'll always cater to the fan that is interested in every data point, but I think there broadly is, especially when we're talking about free-to-air TV, is how do we ensure that we get that balance right between uncovering untold stories. And I think we've certainly built some brilliant relationships over the years with ex-professionals, pundits, commentators, who are able now to combine their experience with the stories that we're able to uncover that are shown visually on screen as well, but also through phones as well. I think one of the points that we made earlier was having your phone and what you're engaging in. I think ultimately, again, probably, let's call it non-engagement and non-fans, they'll probably be looking at their phone more than they are the TV. Yeah. So we need to be providing them with information, insights that hopefully will help them look up from their phone and engage with what's being shown on broadcast.
There's no better way to teach AI than sport, actually. So, Chintan, I want to ask you, one of the things that sports in general does well is to create role models and people that everyone can look up to. How can the digital enabling and ecosystem push these people to do more than just be the sports person?
No, and I think, look, it's already happening. I'll give you example of Gujarat Titans, right? They have integrated with a partner where we handle the tech ecosystem, but what that partner gives us is a pedometer on the app, right? So now if you are a fan of Gujarat Titans and if you are active through the day, you get rewarded with loyalty points, right? So it's a cause. It has nothing to do with what the players are doing, nothing to do with entertainment, but because it's in your phone, you are walking with your phone, it counts your step, and if you cross certain thresholds of steps every day, you get rewarded with loyalty points. And the idea is that can we, while we talk about sports entertainment, can we also create a movement of health within our fans? And that's something that I think a lot of our teams are in position to do something for good of community at large.
I think if there is one thing all of us in this room should aspire to do, it is to push the idea of wellness and fitness into the school level people and make it fashionable to be fit and well. Iris, if you want to talk about examples of quote unquote non-fan, bringing the non-fan on board.
Yes, for sure. I think the um, the amateur sport and start from the beginning, from the school, is not only opportunity for entrepreneurs, is a need for the government. No, in country in Europe where the health is public, you need to prevent the obesity in the kids. No, and fitness, wellness, practice sport is something that we need to promote in our country, in our family, in our friends, because it's the way to reduce the cost of the expenses in the future, no, for the hospital, but also for your insurance or for your family, or to extend your life. And in this sense, it's different initiative. One, uh, for one hand, is all these initiatives to reduce the obesity in the kids. Other is to try to promote. One of the problems, I will talk in this case in Spain, is something very interesting. In the last Olympic, the previous one in London, most of the Spanish medalists was women more than men. But
Mm.
if you look about what happened in the youth people in Spain, is less women who practice sport than boys. More, yes, more boys than girls. This is mean the results are better of the girls, but we need to put focus in how we should promote. Don't stop their career when they get 15. No, is when in this changing of the girls they stop to practice sport. And with different technologies to scouting, the government opened the school not only for the kids, for the family too, no? And you can go and accompany your kids to the public school, and you can jump to Zumba classes, or you can play football with daddy's colleagues, no? The idea is think that the sport is something to do in family, and you need to start and continue like a professional athlete or for fun.
Thank you so much. I think this panel was titled Wired for Winning. And I want to close by saying the real win is not on a podium in a sporting arena, but it is when our schools have children that are fit, well, and appreciative of, of all the athletes' achievements. I think that we should make our biggest victory. And whatever AI and tech can do to enable that victory, I think, is our biggest victory. We don't have to talk here about obesity as a problem. It's a global pandemic. If you thought COVID was a pandemic, there's been an ongoing pandemic far before that. Well, my monitor here says time's up, and that also means we need to open up the floor for probably just a couple of questions. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Karthik from Hyderabad. My question to the whole panel, so we are talking about the tech, AI, data and everything. So I just wanted to understand, where do you see India is on the tech side of it, the sports tech side of it right now? And how do you think the grassroots is going to adopt the technology? Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for the question. I think having had numerous conversations with my colleagues in India around where the opportunities for growth are, and I think potential opportunities for the use of technology for certainly our business. So I think it's been well adopted and it's well used at the elite level. So we're working with a number of elite leagues and teams in the country, where I think there's an opportunity for further down the pyramid or grassroots is it kind of combines with talent identification as well, which is something that is kind of a core thread of what we do, still at an elite level. I think what we need to do is for example, if we did a pilot with a state board and we found accessible technology, affordable technology that could be used across the state or across the region that could record every element of every match happening, then you would end up with a huge data pool of ultimately a pathway to the elite level. And I think just on the point previous around performance and kind of outside of the professional levels is I think the introduction of technology and understanding of data has helped enormously from an amateur sports person's. So, for example, I'm a golfer. Now have distance monitors, track every shot. It will track which direction your shot's gone in, and that helps encourage you to play more sport, and that can be across any sport. Excuse me. The fact that we can now track from that level, I think just going back to my main point around cricket, I think that's where the opportunity is. I think that's if we can find a solution at a lower level than or a wider level than elite, I think there's an enormous opportunity, and that's where we would need the support of AI to help us manage the amount of data that will be coming out.
I will be very short, but in the end, the technology democratized the access, no? And if you think 15 years ago, the technology is only for professional athletes, but today, for grassroots or for a small team, they can access almost the same technology, no? 360-grade camera to track the players, and this is why my advice for all the startups present here, the business is not try to sell your solution to the Premier League or to La Liga, is go to this grassroots small club, because it's where they will need and they make the change, and it's where is the business.
I think we are probably can take just one more. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The person there has a mic. Yeah.
Yeah, hi, thank you for the session. So my question is to Alan and Chintan. So in European, let's say football, there's a very different type of model that, there's very community driven. So if I'm from a very small town, let's say Grimsby town, I'll support that team for my life, and then United comes and I win, and that's my tale for my entire life and everyone in the community. And I believe that is the model that succeeds sports. I think that's the ideal model for sports to succeed all around the globe. So, and that does not happen in India currently. So, do you think that can ever be implemented in India, where we see a lot of community-driven sport engagement from the district or the city or the state itself? And how can technology enable that, if that is a perfect model to succeed sport? And that, I think, also that answers the long-term question of what Sir mentioned, fan engagement, and caters to that problem as well, and enabling everyone in the community to kind of be into sport and take it as a way of life. So how can technology solve that question, and if that model can be scaled in India?
Chintan.
I can take that. Look, it's a little unfair to compare even our IPL to European leagues, because those are going on for centuries and IPL is 10, 15 years old in front of them. And you need to understand where when those leagues started, there was no other way to engage with sport apart from your local club, right? I think our Indian leagues have started in an era of digital. So I don't think we should get fixated with the thought and that comparison point that, hey, if you are Mumbai Indians, you want a Mumbai audience to be behind Mumbai. Of course, that's the case, but there's nothing wrong if there are Rohit Sharma fans who are also following Mumbai Indians and they are not from Mumbai, right? So I don't think India needs to replicate any model that's worked out. That we need to focus on our own models. And to your question, yes, it is possible, and as because we are in digital age today, we need to think of building digital communities and the local and give back to the local communities while the digital communities are in place. So that's my 2 bits.
Wherever Chennai goes to play, I'm from Chennai. Wherever Chennai goes to play, the stadium is all yellow. I'm sure you've all seen that on TV. I think I'm getting signals from the organizers that we need to keep time. This has been a wonderful panel. Thank you all for being great contributors, and thank you for being a wonderful audience. I think I want to just last mention that we have a stall in the expo side. Please come by and take a look at the work we do at IIT Madras in the sports science space. Thank you all again.
Professor, generally, I'm not addressed as the party spoiler. Unfortunately, I played that role here on this discussion, but thank you so much. That was a very interesting discussion, a little selfie. Well, interesting. Now you're talking about tech, AI, and the science of sport. Good to have a selfie to wrap things up. But just summing up the thoughts, I think in this digital age, every click is like a footprint that you're leaving behind. So everything that you're clicking on, you're leaving a footprint. It could also end up being a clear indicator of your tastes, what you like, the content that you like to consume and follow. And I think there's a lot of scope for that. May we have some mementos brought out, please, on stage for our esteemed guests and delegates today. Professor, if you could do the honors and please present mementos to Iris, please. Thank you so much for your insights, ma'am. Alan, thanks so much for being here and being as eloquent as ever. Alan Davis, thank you very much. Chintan, thank you for your insights as well.